as we plunge deep into the frozen haunt of terror. Welcome, dear listeners, to a chilling episode of the Bloody Shot Podcast. Tonight, we embark on a harrowing expedition to the icy wastelands of the Thing. It's a journey into the chilly unknown, where paranoia and shape-shifting horrors rule. The spine-tingling masterpiece of John Carpenter awaits, with secrets lurking beneath the surface and trust disintegrating like the Antarctic ice. Join us as we dissect this iconic tale of isolation, fear, and the unrelenting question: who can you trust when everyone is a potential monster? Will you dare to face the Thing in the frozen abyss with us? I present to you the tale.
Yeah, we're tied up. We're trapped. Again? Damn it. John, what have you got in mind?
A little test.
What for?
For your health. We're going to draw a little bit of everybody's blood. And then we're going to find out who's the Thing.
This is pure nonsense. It doesn't prove a thing.
Thought you'd feel that way, Mike. We'll do you last. I know I'm human. Now, I'll show you what I already know. Well, I guess none of us are imitations. I really wanted to use this.
Hey guys, what's going on there?
Go, what the fuck? Yeah, fuck you too! Fucking blasted!
What the hell? I'm just a regular guy. Vince Frost. I'm a detective.
Alright, Matt. You passed the test.
Thanks. Feels good to be out of those binds. You know, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but if you could find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking couch! You gotta be fucking kidding me.
So this is episode 142, right?
It is. You got it right. Wait, who is this guy? Matt?
Special guest.
Yeah, it's our special
John.
guest, John.
Welcome to Buddy Shots, episode 142, the Halloween episode where we will be discussing one of the greatest cosmic horror films of all time, The Thing.
Nailed it.
Nice. I don't even have to do anything this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've known Matt. We've known John for 35 years. About that.
Yeah.
So this is his first time on the podcast, though. Hopefully, as a guest. Hopefully, it won't be the last.
Like, hopefully as a guest, hopefully.
I hope nothing happens.
Nothing more.
But yeah,
right.
episode. This is John already gave us the intro pretty much. Like, he's 100% correct on all that. It's our Halloween episode, guys. This is the end of the Bloody Shots month. This is when I ask you please to subscribe, and thanks for being a Bloody Shots fan. Maybe you'll subscribe if John comes on more.
Yeah.
Keep the Buddy Shots going.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about The Thing.
Our views skyrocket.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Brought 100% more beard to the podcast.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about The Thing, the 1982, I guess, remake of from kind of.
You mean from 2011, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So it was based on. It was originally a short story, right?
Yes.
And then
Who
it got
Goes
turned
There?
into
Yes.
Who Goes There, and then it was, I believe it was made into a film.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World
It was more like a
from the
Frankenstein
50s, I think, or
monster.
early 60s. I've never seen that. I probably should at some point. Probably be fun to watch,
Yeah.
but I've never seen
That
that.
probably would have been actually a funnier thing to do than me try to get you guys to watch the 2011 one like a bastard.
Try.
I was like, guys, this is a great idea. John's just
It's like, we should watch both of them, and I was like, I heard the new one sucks.
John's like, I ain't doing all that shit.
And then Matt watched it, and
I failed.
his quote was, fuck everyone involved. So.
That's my review.
Especially me for suggesting it.
Especially.
So I was reading that when the thing first came out, it like actually bombed and like got horrible reviews. And
It's
then,
so interesting. Yeah, because it like derailed John Carpenter's career, and like
Yeah.
everyone hated it. Just over time, people realized it
Another
was
cult
actually
classic.
good.
That's weird because it's like you said it like derailed his career, but now like if you think of John Carpenter, that's definitely in the top 3 films that people think about with him as the thing.
Yeah. You know, I've
for
heard
sure.
people argue this is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, and it's hard to disagree.
Looks like we might be making that argument tonight.
Yeah.
I guess that's not really an argument. I don't know too many people would probably argue against that, but
Like for me personally, I do not like horror films like at all. One thing that I really appreciate about this film is they don't engage in any like cheap tricks like jump scares and like, oh, we're gonna turn the camera and there's gonna be like, you know, the thing right there. It's just kind of like
No cat jumps out.
yeah.
right. It's like
Just a dog.
kind of a slow rolling horror, and it's like I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
This movie
that
totally
sense.
ripped off Among Us. I decided to put that stupid joke in there.
But this is
now
a
it's
great
there
movie
forever,
to
Mike.
point to when people say remakes suck, because this is a remake,
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
it's
And
amazing.
it sucks.
So
No.
it can be done.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, this is... It's like a remake by taking the source material, yeah, and like actually staying more faithful to it. And yeah. I'm like, that's where my notes end, so go ahead, guys. Keep going.
Well, one criticism I that was common at the time is that they didn't do enough characterization, which like I kind of understand, but at the same time, like you don't really, the movie doesn't need it. Like, you know, it's like the point of the movie is like this horrible thing shows up, and you know, it's like the mistrust between all the different people and kind of like questioning people's humanity and all that.
Right.
So like, yeah, I guess they could like maybe like build up the bonds of the characters a little bit more, but I just didn't really feel like it was that necessary
Yeah, I
for the
agree.
movie.
They do seem believable, like as a team of guys that have been working together. Like
Yeah.
I believe it comes off as believable. Yeah, each character doesn't get a huge monologue where they're crying like in a show these days.
Yeah.
But you don't need it, like John
Yeah.
said. So
Yeah, totally. I think that like one of the things that they were talking about was when they originally shot this, John Carpenter went back and was like, dude, we need to do more reshoots of like actually having like MacReady kind of take charge and stuff, because I guess when they first watched it and it was more ensemble, he was kind of like, dude, this sucks. Like like a lot of the guys are like kind of blending together and stuff.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, and I think he said that like they just had to have a slight course correction to make all the change in the world. It's kind of like when he did Halloween and then he put like the music in and it was like, holy shit. It totally changes the film, like elevates it. So
I thought the intro was interesting because it starts out with the Norwegians chasing the thing dog
yeah,
in a helicopter.
Swedes.
yeah,
Crazy sweet. And like basically, if you could speak Norwegian, like you would kind of understand the plot of the movie.
to
Essentially,
like drink
where-
Ovaltine.
saying like it's not a dog, you know, it's an imitation, which I thought was cool. And of course, they built an entire shitty prequel off of that entire opening sequence. But
that's no dog. You think?
That's like the Thing is a like, you know, poster child for why remakes don't suck. The Thing is a poster child for why prequels do suck.
Right.
generally, yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
everything about the Thing, but make everything worse.
Well, it's like the small stuff that you kind of see in the like the glimmers of like what happens at their outposts and their tapes and stuff. A lot of that stuff ends up happening in the Thing, where like they end up burning everything and blowing shit up, and that's just kind of, you know, because they come to the realization they need to like get rid of this thing, but you don't have to like go like in the prequel go back and show it.
Right.
But that's why it was kind of futile.
Well,
Obviously.
the only reason you should ever make a prequel is if there's an actual story to tell. And in this case, there just really wasn't. I mean, like, they show everything that happened, essentially, in the thing, where it's like, oh, they found an alien spacecraft, and they, like, opened up, like, that icy tomb, which is cool, but, like...
There's just not really anything... You're not mining any new material. It's just kind of like, oh, we're going to basically replay the entire first movie, but...
It's also
at a
nice to,
slightly
like,
different location.
keep things, like, kind of, like, as much as you want to know more about it, it's also, like, keeping things kind of, like, mysterious and not seeing every single thing. Like,
Right.
you don't want to see the magician doing every single thing. That's, you know, the trick, because then you'll be like, oh, that's how it's done. I give a shit.
Right, that's a good point. It kind of, well, I don't want to jump straight to the end, but kind of like the ambiguity of...
I think we're going to be jumping all over the place.
The ambiguity
It's
at the
not
end where
okay.
you don't know who...
Right.
If either of them is the thing, when Keith David and Kurt Russell are
Yeah.
sitting at the, you know, as the base burns around them, and it's like, is one of them the thing? Maybe they kind of leave it open.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when I first saw this movie, I was pretty young. I was still in high school, and like I was blown away by the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
But that ending got me the most. I was like, "You can do that with an ending? Like, wow, I can't believe it!" Like that was truly the most shocking part of this movie. I love it. It elevates it.
You forever wonder.
Yeah.
Because there's no. I mean, I think there were like some comics or something, but I mean.
I'm like, it permanently deleted all the Buddy Shots episodes we've ever done.
And
Buddy
deleted
Shots
off
episode
YouTube, and...
Yeah, Buddy Shots episode 1.
My memory's been wiped.
Yeah, but we were talking about what were we talking?
What was the first episode of Buddy Shots? What did you guys do?
It was Howling, wasn't it?
The Howling.
Yeah. And then after that was...
That's a good one.
The Wicker Man?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Don't ask me much after that.
Let's
We've
go
done
through
so
the
many.
next 140. Come on.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think another
What were we
thing...
talking
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember what we were talking about.
I was trying to figure out who was the first person that was actually infected. And unfortunately, I can't remember most of the people's names. But
yeah.
I know...
I want to say it was like the guy that was like the dog keeper, whoever that guy was.
Yeah, Richard Masur.
Yeah.
Who is
Well, no,
Clark.
he was never infected, remember? Because he
He's good
he
as
pulls
hell.
out the scalpel and then he gets shot, and he's...
I think they make you think that... Yeah, that's a good point. Because, yeah, he ends up being just a human. But, like, they make you think, I guess, that it was.
They definitely
like,
cast
yeah.
suspicion on him.
But they
the whole
never
time.
show who the dog goes to first because it's literally just a dog walking into a room and a shadow turns.
I think it's the... it's like
Is
the
it-
red-haired dude that has the heart attack.
Fuchs.
No, it wasn't Fuchs. Because Fuchs committed suicide.
Was it
That guy. Vance Norris.
Okay.
That's the guy. That might be the first guy. And then there's the scene where they're doing the autopsy, and Wilford Brimley's character touches the thing to his lips, and the speculation is that's when he infected it.
I didn't notice that.
Because it's just one. The idea was like a single cell from the thing can infect like an assimilate an entire
Maybe,
person.
what's it called? Maybe it was the guy that like was getting high the whole time because his hair was kind of curly, and in the like silhouette it seemed
See,
like
I don't
the guy
think
had
I don't know
curly
if he was
hair.
the first one or not. Though that's the question.
Windows.
Yeah.
Windows.
I was just sad that Windows died before Windows 95 could come out. So he never saw it.
He was in
don't
Windows,
let him
Windows
see
ME.
He's been waiting his whole life.
What is the best Windows?
Windows 95, the ultimate operating system.
That's true. I agree. This is the kind of shit you're getting into.
Like, well,
I am the thing.
It was better than ME.
True. That's the worst.
Yeah. Millennium Edition. Anyway, so
We should do an episode where we just rank all the Windows.
we're doing it right now.
fuck it. That's-
Top 20 Windows operating systems. There's only been like 5. But yeah, the score in this is awesome, and I generally bitch and moan about like opening credits when it's just black on white or something like that, but this is like perfect.
Oh yeah, it's great.
With just the credits at the beginning, and then they show like the alien spaceship and stuff crashing to Earth.
For the part where the title burns away, they actually like set that up and like lit something on fire.
They actually
I
like
thought that was
burn
really cool.
space.
They burned space time.
The guy was like, the guy.
This is one of the few movies that he actually isn't credited for the score because it was Ennio Morricone.
Yes, I'm glad
But
you wrote that down.
He basically did it in the style of John Carpenter.
He's the guy who did it anyway.
So it's still very Carpenter-esque.
Also, one of the only things where they put, like, I think, like, actual... Like, in the beginning, they don't do, like, a thing where they're, like... millions of years ago or whatever, but like the only real timestamp you kind of get in this is when they're like Antarctica winter 1982. So I thought that was kind of interesting that like, I mean, I guess it's kind of nice that like they didn't like spell it out for you where it's like thousands of years ago and it's like in space. Right. It's like, I think we can get that by just watching it.
Well, one interesting thing that kind of goes back to Norris potentially being the originally infected person is that there's a scene where they actually fly back out to the excavation site where they excavate the UFO or whatever, and he's like, must be 100,000 years old. And it's kind of like, maybe if he was like the alien, he would actually literally know that.
He like gets in the spaceship and starts driving it away. They're like, I don't know, he might be the thing. He's like, see you guys later, beat bop, beat work.
He's like, I know how to open this. Like, touches the keypad. Like,
He's like, my home sweet home. I mean, what the fuck is this thing? That's interesting. I mean,
yeah.
I honestly never really looked into theories all that much. I mean, I've heard a couple of them, but like, it's cool that like this film impacted you enough for you to like look into that kind of stuff. Like, that's a huge testament, especially since you were like, I'm not really a horror person, that it kind of got more into like, and I think that's something that like John Carpenter does very well, is like him and a few other people that directed, you know, what you would call horror. You know, it's easy to make a movie like that's a jump out scare, like a Scream kind of movie or a slasher.
It's like the cheap tricks.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to make a movie that's, you could almost, you know, yeah, there are horror elements in this, and this is a horror movie, but like, it's like you think about it, you know, not much to say about movies that are just made quick and dirty, but.
I also kind of, I mean, I've always liked H.P. Lovecraft, like Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah,
and
like cosmic
and
horror and stuff like that, for
fits
sure.
into that niche.
Oh, totally. Yeah, like this is. It's like, I think it's hard to do cosmic horror, but I think this does it in a way that's like. It's hard to watch some of this stuff because it's like, it is like unknowing, because you're like, what the fuck? It's like multiple things, and yeah, that's a good call.
Now, there was one part that like, and like, I'm not trying to pick the movie apart because obviously you can pick any movie apart, but like towards the end where MacReady and Knowles and John and Gary, or it's the three of them and Childs are the four ones left.
Okay, yeah.
So they go to check on Wilford Brimley's character, and like the three of them go. And they leave Childs by himself. And it's just like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you're worried about someone getting assimilated, like, you would split into pairs. So, of course, the three of them go, and then Wilford Brimley's missing, which is where they find where he was, like, building the spacecraft.
He's building, like, a
and they, like, look out, and, like, Childs is, like, skittering across. It's like, okay. But
You're the next Roger Ebert, because he picked up on that in his review. He's like, buddy system could have solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's like, it's not enough, obviously, it doesn't really take away from the film.
Childs is like,
it's
all
like,
eyes off me. Yeah, it's funny because, like, I think I've seen this so many times that I just kind of gloss over everything and just watch the film, but it's good that, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, like, I totally, like, I would never take offense to saying, you know, bringing that up because, yeah, that, you know, I guess I never really thought about it, but yeah, that is kind of fucking stupid.
There's always a line between, like, you can get away with plot holes as long as the rest of the movie is good.
Like the rule of cool, where it's like, I can kind of, if this is really good, I can kind of gloss over.
Right, it's like,
or if you're sucked into it and like, you know, the suspense is working, you wouldn't notice or care.
Right,
stuff
right.
Like you might notice later, or you know,
I'm like 0 out of 10.
if someone points it out, but
Cinema Sin.
Dude, I can't watch those fucking
this guy's,
I used to watch those, and I was like, oh yeah,
I could see,
and then
like,
I just realized how pedantic it ended up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
every little thing. It's like, all right.
the sin is that you have viewers.
Well, since we're bringing up criticisms, I have the tiniest nitpick about this movie.
Like, nope.
It fucking sucks.
This has always bothered me a tiny bit. Kurt Russell's catchphrase at the end of the movie when he kills the thing.
Yeah, where he says,
fuck you too.
Fuck you too.
It could have been better.
Yeah.
It's a little weak.
I think it's pretty funny, but...
It's okay.
Yeah.
It could have been better. It reminded me of MacGruber at the end of that when he kills the main bad guy. His catchphrase is just, fuck you, dude! That's so funny.
Yeah, I can see that.
I thought, like, the humor about that was that, like, like when Han Solo talks to Chewbacca and nobody can understand what the fuck he's saying, so it's like
it's not bad.
It's not like obviously the thing was like fuck you.
Have you seen the clips though of those scenes where they actually had an actor saying Chewbacca's lines?
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
was like, that blew my mind when I saw it.
Isn't it like an English guy or something?
Yeah.
And it's like,
And I was like, well, I've got the hydro span. Man. What of it?
Chewbacca's like, I do that a lot on the podcast. You know what that's from? Fucking Back to the Future 3, where like the kid's like, like pointing to his crotch.
You have to. Say
I'm like,
you have to watch it again.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Dude, oh my god. I don't know why.
You would never notice it unless
I brought it up or something. But a lot of the cinematography is so great in this movie, like the helicopter at the beginning flying around, like showing the isolation just for miles. It's just nothing but snow and mountains, and you're like, you know, it's showing it easily sets the stage for people to go, you know, okay, well, they're isolated, instead of like a horror movie maybe where you'll see it and you'll be like, dude, why don't they just fucking call somebody, you know? And they also
they're in Antarctica.
Or
like,
the Thing remake where they're all in a studio and you can clearly tell
Yeah.
it's not real. So.
yeah, because I think they filmed most of this in Alaska.
I don't remember where it was. It was the same location they
Yeah.
filmed Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, but they were talking about where it was so like hard to see stuff sometimes that like one step you'd be fine and the next step you'd be falling like 100 feet and you'd never know, like you'd be fucking dead.
And it was a journey to get to the location even from their hotel. Like,
Right.
It was an arduous trip every
Like
day.
they weren't fucking around, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
way to do
I want to say it was in like eastern or southeastern Alaska, right on the Canadian border. So.
but yeah.
Filming on location. Imagine that.
Yeah. But like
It adds to the experience.
I'm like, fuck that.
And you can, and a lot of the scenes,
Yeah.
they're acting, but a lot of them you can tell the dudes are super cold.
Yeah. Yeah, they talk
It
about
just adds to the overall
yeah.
movie.
Definitely talk about it's funny because they talk about that in the commentary, but like one of the scenes where they're supposed to be fucking freezing is like they're in like a 70 degrees soundstage,
Right.
like in like it's the other outpost when they go in and they find the guy with the slit wrist and they find all that stuff with the other camp, and they have like little baskets with dry ice in their mouth to make it seem like they have like cold breath and all this other cool stuff, and it's like just that kind of stuff where it's like.
But they also, in some scenes, they froze the studio, so
Right,
you could see their
yeah.
breath, and like everyone got sick because they'd be going from the freezing studio to like California
Yeah.
all the time.
So
So
they talk about like the fog that was getting people sick because it was like the old fog that like they're like, oh yeah, they find out now that people get cancer from that.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's like that dedication to like you guys were saying, real stuff instead of like, you know, the computer stuff.
Yeah, like that first scene where they go to the Norwegian lab and like there's like the dude that like cut his wrists and his throat. Well, I guess someone else cut his throat. I don't know. I didn't see the prequels. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they did such a good job with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. With like the real, I mean, obviously the animatronics with like the actual thing,
Yeah.
but like even just like the corpses were like
Yeah.
fantastic. Like
Like
they're just
yeah.
horrific.
It's like haunted house or whatever. It's like you go through there and you're like, what the fuck happened here?
Like the one where like the head's splitting into like two
Yeah.
heads and like merging, and then like
so
the
good.
autopsy scene was fantastic. Where like cut it open, they're like, oh, we got normal human organs inside this grotesque
Yeah.
thing.
It's like, wait a minute.
yeah, I think these are probably the second best practical effects
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
After
with
the
Day of the Dead
after
being,
Thing 2011.
Yeah. I think Day of the Dead is top. Thing
Yeah.
is right below.
I agree.
But it's amazing.
When did you guys first see this movie? I know you were talking about college.
I rented it on tape in
Or
high school. This
I
was
mean.
the first John Carpenter movie I ever saw.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you said, I think we were talking about at one point. You said,
I watched it freshman year of college
Mm-hmm.
with my roommate, and I fucked with him relentlessly after we watched it.
you're like,
Yeah, I'd be
he's
like,
like,
shut up, Tabatu. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I loved it.
that's awesome. Yeah, like,
How about you?
I honestly, you know what's funny is I had this question written down and I really can't remember. Because I've seen it so many times now, I can't really remember the first time I saw it.
That's always been with you.
Yeah, because I also I've owned the movie in different versions for like, you know, I had the, you know, the DVD, and then I got the Blu-ray and the 4K and all that stuff by like Shout Shout Factory or Screen Factory, and they keep adding these cool features and stuff to it, like commentaries and everything. And I just whenever it comes out with a new thing, I want to like get all the behind the scenes information because it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's definitely a movie that has a very specific set of circumstances to make it come together and make it a cult classic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it the other night by myself in my basement and had like multiple nightmares over the night. But like it was weird because like I would wake up in like a cold sweat, but like I didn't like freak out when I woke up. So it's kind of just like, that
you
was
were out of
weird.
the nightmare, and
And then I would go back to sleep, and then it would be like a dream about like me like trying to like kill like people turning into the thing, and I was just like, it was almost like a video.
You wake up and you're like
Sounds
choking your
bad.
neighbor. You're like,
I didn't sleep very well.
Was
but,
it one of those nightmares where like you wake up and then you go back to sleep and then it just continues?
Yeah, like
I
it would
hate
keep
that.
going back to it. But the weirdest part was that like I wouldn't like wake up and be like, oh my god, fuck. It was just like I would wake up and be like, ugh. And then I would go back to sleep, and then it would be like back in it. And it was just weird.
Previously on John.
yeah. I've had dreams like that, but I've never had a nightmare that continued, and I almost never have nightmares where I have them and I remember them. Like, I'll have dreams where it's like, oh, it's a great dream. I wake up, and they usually happens when I'm really sick, and it's very vivid. And I'll wake up, and then like you go back to sleep, and the dream like kind of picks up, but then it like morphs randomly into something else. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like nightmares are almost always based on like more on how it feels rather than what's happening. Because I've
Yeah.
had dreams that like if I told you about them, they would sound terrifying, but they weren't. But then I had other dreams where they were like nightmares, but they seem mundane. So.
Like I had this dream where Mike suggested that we watch the 2011 The Thing movie, and
I
watched
killed
it.
Mike and cut his body up.
That was the nightmare. You wore my face
I was happy.
on Buddy Shots.
You guys are laughing, but I lived it.
That's true.
What do you what to you is the scariest part of this movie? Because I have a clear answer.
For you, not for me. I'll tell you what's the scariest.
I'm not sure if I have a clear answer because okay, so I guess the first thing that comes to mind, but I'm not sure if that's the scariest one, is when Windows goes into the room and he turns and Bennings is like,
Oh,
that was pretty
Jesus.
freaky.
The first time that you actually see something like that happen in the film, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, the first one of those with the dog because that's when it first happened.
Oh
The
yeah.
dog,
Well, I mean, like
splits
the
open.
person.
But
where
like
it's
seeing an
like,
actual
yeah.
person get.
It's also like somebody's witnessing it as it's happening, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like a person's being turned.
But then, like, okay, so like the defibrillator scene, where he puts it in, like the fucking chops his.
That's
hands
like
off.
the centerpiece of this whole movie.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And then like the fucking head falls off and turns into a spider.
When
and
the
tries to
head turns
crawl
into a
out.
spider, like
What the
such
fuck?
creativity.
Yeah.
To come up with that is so amazing. To me, it's Bennings right before he gets roasted, where he holds up like the monster arms and he's like,
yes,
that is like
Yes.
top 5 most terrifying things I've seen in a movie.
gets
It's
spit
so
roasted.
unnatural.
yeah, that was a great scene.
That's
gets
like
spit
bone
roasted.
chilling.
Mike,
When you open the door or whatever they do, and Wilford Brimley has that random news.
yeah, that was
No, I mean that was actually kind of funny. I mean, it wasn't, I guess, funny, but it was also like, was that like a diversion? I guess, or I don't know.
He's like, I have diabetes.
He's like, you check this shit? No, he's like, no one's buying oatmeal. Fuck it. I was thinking about Tommy. But yeah, I think honestly, you guys brought up probably the 2 scariest things for me, at least the subversion of when he goes to do the defibrillator and his fucking arms get bitten off, and the first time they confront somebody as a group, and like essentially it's like he's like got that thing and he does the unnatural, a lot. Also too, for me, I think more than any sight stuff, even though it's really horrifying, the sounds are like, it's just like, it's so unearthly. It's like the first time you heard like T-Rex in like Jurassic Park, you're like, what the fuck? That's like nothing. You never heard anything like that ever.
It sounds kind of like an elephant in there.
Yeah, it sounds like a lion with an elephant and a couple different. Sounds like somebody Foleyed this.
The opening scene with the dog, I thought that was very. I loved how they built tension because
it's
like
great.
that,
Yeah.
like the dog's like totally just like quiet, but like clearly observing everything and like sneaking around.
That's another.
It's
Yeah.
incredibly unsettling. And then obviously the scene in the kennel.
The dog's like.
You're like, fuck.
The kennel scene's probably one of the scariest too, because you know those. You when something starts happening, you know those dogs are like fuck.
Yeah, it gets
like,
Well, and like right before that, the scene where the dog's walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
And then you see the silhouette of the person, and it like walks in there, and you're like, oh fuck.
Speaking of dogs,
it was a dog.
the dog acting in this movie
Yeah.
is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
The greatest of all time. He's the greatest dog to walk down a hallway.
Like, how did they get him to do that? It's like,
Yeah, they were talking
it was
about
amazing.
on the commentary. John Carpenter was like, "Yeah, we didn't really even do anything. He was trained, obviously, by somebody. It wasn't like a random dog off the street, but like that he just knew, you know, to like walk, look in, look over, look in again, and then walk in. And it's like, huh?
Yeah,
Like Jesus,
that's impressive.
Speaking of dogs, when you guys saw this like for the first time, and like they're like flying the helicopter and trying to kill the dog, and then they like essentially go 5 feet above the dog and like buzz it. I was like, and it's like that. I'm always like, because it's like that dog was like, holy shit.
It's intense.
Yeah. I like how at the beginning where they set up, everybody's just kind of having leisure time. People playing ping pong, reading a book, playing, like there's like, you know, a pinball machine. People are just kind of doing their own thing.
Chess on the
Yeah.
computer.
Dude,
People-
that video game was
People smoking dope.
Melting down the computer.
Destroying one of his only ways to fucking have.
What a waste of bourbon.
Yeah, it's like,
Did this movie want to make you drink J&B whiskey? Or scotch, I guess.
You gotta find it.
there's not too much like comedy in this, but like there are things about this that are funny, and for me, one of the unintentionally funny things about this is when the dudes pull up in the helicopter for the first time trying to kill that dog, and the dude pulls the
and he pulls out the
grenades
grenade,
out and he
he's like,
throws
"Whoa."
it backwards. I always think that's like, I didn't always think it was funny, but like the more I watched the
little
film,
slapstick.
the
It's
funnier
definitely
it is. It becomes like a
slapstick.
Looney Tunes. He's like, and it like flies out the back, and he's like, "Bleh." And the one guy just blows the fuck up trying to find it. I'm like, dude, just run.
Yeah, they probably could have handled that one a little bit more.
But I just
plausibly.
thought, I mean, it's
Three Stooges.
like a fuck up, but at the same time, it's like, you know,
It's
these
a little
guys
comical.
seem like the least capable dudes that were on that fucking outpost. Because
Guess we better watch the prequel and find out.
yeah,
I think it's hilarious how he keeps calling them Swedes.
yeah,
That's a great little running joke.
So one other part that I thought was somewhat cheesy, and maybe it wasn't in 1982, I don't know, but like the fact that Wilford Brimley had like a computer program that was like,
Dude, that was outrageous.
they actually talk
the
about
world
that
will
in
be
the commentary
infected
too.
with this percentage.
Well, not only
It's
that, but like he puts
cool.
in like this long paragraph or whatever where it's like days, and he's like, if you know, given the time or whatever until if you know if it hits civilized area, how long till infection, and it's like instantly gives an answer
Right.
or whatever.
Well, it's the kind of thing that like actually today with like AI powered stuff, you could conceivably have that kind of interface.
Right.
But, like back then,
But we're just now getting to that.
Well, that was like essentially he was inputting stuff into like an animation program.
Yeah, he was like, I just animated these cells,
Yeah.
wrote a program
To
that
like
animates these
fucking
cells
touch
to
each other.
assimilate each other. So.
But it
That
was
is
like,
pretty
yeah,
ridiculous.
he's like, if intruder organism reaches civilized areas, entire world population infected in 27,000 hours from first contact, which is 1,125 days or 3 years and 8 days. So a little bit longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah. 3 years. Like, yeah, we got time. We'll figure it out.
But it's also kind of like, what was that one movie we watched last year? With Donald, or Keith, or not Keith, Donald.
Oh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, where it's kind of like, that's kind of like, you never know. It could be quicker than that, you know. It's also like one of those things where, unless you get the info out about, you know, if someone's not who they, like there's real no way to tell if someone's not who they say they are anyway.
Also, this
so.
spreads way quicker than COVID, and that took like only a couple months.
Yeah.
The computer was way off.
Yeah, that whole thing, that's funny because well, COVID's not funny, but it was funny that they were talking about how, like, around the same time that this film was coming out and stuff, that they were talking about, you know, like, this whole thing where you don't know who's got it and who, you know, what it does and stuff. They were talking about how at the same time, you know, a new disease was coming out called AIDS. You don't know who has it. You don't know, you know, and people were kind of like, obviously freaking about that and stuff, and they bring that up on the commentary too, where it's like, it just adds to that. I think earlier, we were talking about, like, John, you had said that this movie, when it first came out, obviously was like kind of a bomb or whatever, and like
critical and commercial.
Yeah, 2 weeks before this, E.T. came out, so it was like,
I was reading about that too, like the contrast between like the happy alien and like, the obviously very not a happy alien in the thing.
he's like,
E.T. was like one of the biggest phenomenons ever.
Yeah.
So like the world was like living on E.T. fever.
They were
they're like, woo,
Fuck
no
you.
thanks.
well, yeah, it's also kind of like, I mean, if you have a movie like that where everybody's just like, it's so positive and stuff, and then you come out with like this where like, unlike, Alien, where like, obviously came before this, where there was at least like a survivor and stuff like that, and there was like some stuff like that. This is like, it's pretty much like almost like 20 minutes before the end of the film, maybe even before that, you're fucked. You're gonna get a bad ending.
That's what I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but that stuck out to me the most is when Kurt Russell's like, no one's gonna live through this. And you're like, dude, this is dark. Like,
like
this is
we're gonna burn the base down.
Yeah, there's still like 20 or 30 minutes left of the
One
film.
thing
They
that
know
is
they're done.
Yeah.
interesting to me about it is that like throughout the entire movie, like MacReady never, like he doesn't like test himself in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, so I guess like, I mean, they kind of leave that open ended a little bit, but yeah, like there's no point in the movie where they actually prove that he's a human,
Right.
which
He's
is
like,
interesting.
I've never been tested, but if I did, I think I would pass.
I'm not a coward. I'm
I'm not an alien. I'm just
Dude, I never knew that song was about the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But that blood test scene is also like one of the high
Yeah,
points
it's
of this
classic.
movie. And I didn't really understand what was going on until the blood itself became an alien. And I was like, that is brilliant.
Became an alien.
I highly recommend checking out the Frozen claymation parody of that.
Yeah, you
scene.
sent that to us, and I'd seen that before, but I forgot about it. Did you show that to your kids? Because they're Frozen
I
fans.
showed it to my wife, but yeah, not my kids. Were
You're like, check this out, and they're like,
when fucking Elsa turned like head splits open and eats Anna's face.
yeah, that's specifically part of the whole thing where like the one dude. That's another thing where like when I've seen it, before, at the beginning and stuff, but as I've on subsequent viewings, it's become funnier where he grabs the guy and it's literally like they're like and they're like, like flopping around, because then you're like, okay, that's like a fucking dummy with like a fucking doll fucking on the end of it. It's like, it's just, I don't know. The more I think about it, like, dude, that's just but it's horrifying when you see it, because it's like essentially like
It still works.
I was like, what is this, a long-necked giraffe?
So what were your guys' favorite scene? That was probably my favorite scene, was the blood test scene. Which is probably common, but
I'm gonna go with the chest bursting open and the whole aftermath. The dude's head falling off, turning into a spider. That's amazing.
I don't know. I honestly really like all the stuff where they like are trying to like find out like the mystery and stuff, like where they first view the tape. And it's like, what the fuck were they doing? And they're watching.
That was cool. Yeah,
they're watching so much of it, and they're like, how much more of this shit is there? And they finally get to the part where they discover something, and they're standing around that thing, and it's like, what the hell is this? And then they go to kind of investigate the outpost and just all that tiny side stuff.
kind of the investigation part.
It's kind of hard to even say what my favorite part of this is, because there's very few parts of this where I kind of lapse in interest. Like, the only part, I think we talked about it before, that is kind of like not as interesting is the part where like Blair is doing the animation thing, and it's kind of like, they're showing it off, and I'm like where the little cells like go into each other, and I'm like, dude, this is like Pong if it sucked. Like, this is not good. But
I mean, I do feel like they pace the movie very well, and there really aren't that many. I mean, even that scene is still like everything's interesting. There's no like
It's highly entertaining from start to
Yeah,
finish.
there's no wasting time with like,
Right.
dumb shit. It's like
yeah, for sure. I think like we were talking about isolation and stuff, but like that's another thing they subtly do in this, where like they have a scene. It's like they just do it one time where they just like, Wilford Brimley goes to one of the guys because he's like, are you able to raise anybody? And he's like, I haven't been able to, like, get anybody on the thing for, like, 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, well, that sets up that they're having communication problems. So that further, people, that already eliminates the essential, call the neighbors, go to the, because they have no neighbors, you can't call civilization. It's like, in a horror movie, help us, it cuts that off. So
it's interesting how the thing goes from, like, trying to assimilate to, like, realizing it's not going to escape and being like, oh, okay, I need to hibernate now. So it's like, changes the game kind of halfway through the movie where it's like, oh, well, now it's just kind of fine with, like, status quo, like, just chill.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get completely killed, it'll be fine.
Like, it's okay with freezing because because it knows someone's going to come to rescue. Like,
right. And even, like, the people or whatever, like, they do the same thing. They're like, okay, we gotta get civilization, and then, like, we gotta contact people about this, and then they realize, okay, shit, we all gotta, like, essentially die, because we have to checkmate this thing and, like, kill it, because if not, civilization is fucked.
Well, like, that's what, like, interesting about, like, Wilford Brimley's characters.
Yeah.
He, like, realizes, like, holy shit, and then he goes, like, on the rampage and, like, destroys all the equipment.
I think, his acting is probably... I mean, everybody in this movie is great, but I think, like, those scenes where he is drinking and he's, running those programs and he sees, like, there's a 75% chance that one or more of the people that are here are the thing now.
Right.
He's like... And that's obviously what eventually leads him to do one of the funniest and most out of control scenes ever, where he's fucking smashing everything and going nuts. He's like,
it wants to be us.
He's like, I'll kill you. It wanted to be us.
That was a pretty funny scene. I can't take credit for this because I heard it. I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about the thing, and they're like, the fact that he's building a spaceship is probably, like, crazier than an alien existing. Like, he built a spaceship from, like, offhand materials that could, like, fly to another planet. Like, that's more impressive than the thing. Like,
yeah, because
kind of silly.
That's how smart I guess that's what's so interesting about it, is it, like, obviously you never really find anything more about it, not like you need to, but, like, what the alien is. Like, he's obviously can morph into a bunch of different stuff he's ever come in contact with before, but, like, obviously it's super intelligent because it flew here in a spaceship, or at least maybe
it's like
one.
There's this huge contrast between, like, it as, like, this grotesque animalistic like thing that devours things, but also, like, it came here in, like, a sophisticated spaceship and obviously has, like you said, like, hyper intelligence.
It's not just like a xenomorph where it's like a straight up, like, beast. It's like it's at least, I mean, you could, I guess, make a case that, like, maybe it stole, like, the ship that it was on at first, maybe it crash landed it, but, like, even then, like, if that's the case and that wasn't its ship, at least it was smart enough to know how to make a ship. So if it, maybe it was able to get the smarts from, like, kind of like the xenomorph, where the xenomorph, like, takes on mutations and stuff.
I read some stuff, like, some, like, fan theories about how, like, like, maybe it was, like, a imprisoned organism,
like,
and
a
then,
bioweapon
like,
or something.
like, crash landed on Earth and, like, escaped and stuff. But that's kind of undermined by the fact that it was, like, building another UFO.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, even if at one point it was, like, kind of like an alien where it was like a beast, like a xenomorph, I think by this point it had absorbed another alien, like, life forms, like brain power to make that spaceship, like you were saying, where it's like, maybe at one point, but maybe the thing that crashed that wasn't even the alien. Maybe it was, like, it was trying to crash it and kill the alien, but it was like, I can, survive deep temperatures and stuff.
It's like the space jockey from Alien.
Right. He's like, yeah.
It's cool when movies don't spoon feed you.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I'm like,
you leave it open-ended and it just kind of lets your imagination fill in the blanks. Which drives some people crazy, but I don't know. I think it's cool.
Anybody have any thoughts on MacReady's hat?
No! I'm just kidding.
It's outrageous.
I think that was something they were talking about in the commentary too, where it's like, that hat is so one of a kind, and I think they talked about that on the commentary too, where they're like, the hat was essentially picked out before Kurt Russell was even, like, in the film. So I think that was, like, over from when like they were just because this was mainly like John Carpenter was brought on to this, but I think this was like they were talking about at least the co-producer or whatever was talking about how like they were wanting to do this project for a long time at Universal, and then they finally they got him involved, and I think that's when it started to, which I never knew. I always thought this was just like a straight. I think that like John Carpenter wanted to do this story, and I think that's why he was able to got involved and stuff. But
Yep.
So, do you guys think that this kind of movie could be made today? Not from like a.
like
I guess what I'm talking about is like obviously the movie bombed, right, initially, and then it became like a cult classic. Is like, I kind of feel like in like modern Hollywood, they're like play it as safe as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I just wonder if they could, if something like this even be greenlit in the first place.
Not at a high budget.
Yeah.
I
don't even know if it would happen in a low budget.
Reliance
though.
on CGI is like
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing.
I think that's when you get like stuff like the 2011 stuff where they kind of did it where they were like, we're making the thing, but it was we're playing on nostalgia and we're going the safe route and stuff.
Right, which is how it just
right.
seems like it always goes.
They did use like almost all practical effects in that movie, but the studio was scared and painted CGI over top of all of it at the last minute.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But the whole idea to just
I'm not saying that would
Yeah.
have made the movie. I mean, it would have been better, but still wouldn't have been good. But still, that hurts it too because the CG it looks like cartoon style.
I think even if they had probably all practical effects, I think just the idea to even go back and do a thing where you're telling a story that
the way they did it
was already told. They were talking about like essentially if that movie had done well, that same guy wanted to make like a Thing sequel, and I don't really even know what that would look like. I know they've done comic books, and I don't know if it was from DC or Marvel or who had the license at the time, but they had done ones where like they found MacReady and and he kept going to different places, and like wherever he would go, the Thing would pop up, and it was essentially like Duke Nukem, where he would fucking be the one guy that knew.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if it like.
And I thought
I feel like there's
stupid.
A universe where a sequel could work, but it would have to be very specific, and I have no idea what would actually make it work.
Yeah.
The video game was kind of cool because basically they sent soldiers in to like deal with the Thing aftermath
Because they like found out about it or something. Yeah.
So they fight off. You fight off a bunch of things, and MacReady does survive, and he like flies you around the final boss at the end.
Oh wow,
it's kind of cool.
Does Kurt Russell say anything, or is he just his voice, or is it no?
It's not his
else?
voice, but it is John Carpenter's voice.
He's like
doing
a
character that looks just like him.
Nice. He's like, hey guys, it's me, John Carpenter. I directed the original Thing, and I'm actually in the video game.
It's a me, John
It's
Carpenter.
a me, John, yeah. But yeah, I guess I never really. The funny thing is, I mean, obviously we're talking about prequels and sequels, but I honestly never really thought a sequel or prequel would ever be needed for something like this. Like, obviously,
It really isn't.
Like
I mean,
the kind of like the world, like the idea of the Thing is such a cool organism to talk about and stuff, and it's
it's a fantastic idea, but it's like trying to do a sequel is like it's like someone who like can't stand the ambiguity of the ending. Being
right.
Like, we gotta have something like we have to have closure, and it's like no, you don't.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like when I was talking about the comics, who those are really for, because people that are like really big fans of like the movie and stuff, like probably didn't want to read a comic book about like essentially like a G.I. Joe kind of situation, and obviously like kids wouldn't really want to buy that. They'd be probably freaked out and shit. So I don't really know. I mean, I guess they probably had the license, so they were just like fuck it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it stands on its own as a story by itself. That's good enough. I think one of the only like the things that John Carpenter's done that probably could have done with a ton of sequels, and it would not have diminished anything if it was done right, was the Escape From series, just because the way that character is essentially like a criminal and stuff, and they had all these exploits they talked about, but like a bunch of his other movies I'm not too sure.
Dude,
like,
I think there could have been tons of Jack Burton movies.
that too.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, those
Absolutely.
characters are pretty similar as far as
Absolutely.
like how they're played cool and badass and stuff, but like
Well,
I wouldn't say like Prince of Darkness would be like a good movie to make like anything, or like I mean, I guess like Jack Burton and him aren't exactly alike.
Jack Burton's a buffoon.
Right. But I mean, he still gets the job done. So I mean, it's like you'd be good or lucky.
But it's like open ended enough.
Yes.
And like
He could
fluid
go on more
enough
adventures.
that he could go. Yeah. He could go
It's
on
more of like an
adventures.
Indiana Jones thing. Those are
Right.
essentially like, whereas this is like, you know, nihilistic, scary.
There's only so much you can mine from the story that like. Unless you have
Without diluting
unless,
it, yeah.
Unless you have some sort of new twist that makes it interesting, it's like kind of the same thing again.
Maybe they
Like,
could do a thing.
oh, there's this alien
Yeah.
that can become like anyone. Like, yeah, but we already explored that in the actual first movie. So
They could do like a thing where it's like the xenomorphs home planet, and like they're all just like being cool and stuff, and then humans come up and start fucking with them. Even though that wouldn't make any sense because what they put on like masks of xenomorphs. They're like, it's me, a xenomorph.
I thought you were gonna say Alien versus Predator versus the Thing.
Dude, that'd be no
Whoever
contest.
wins, we lose.
The humans win. The predators are like,
that would be interesting.
but let's see here. They got a lot of like really. I guess we've kind of talked about a lot of stuff in this film. We kind of went all over the place, but
My
Who's-
last.
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
My last note. We haven't really talked about specifically. What did you think of Kurt Russell in this movie?
he was in this
I thought he
movie.
was great.
Yeah,
He was Kurt Russell.
perfect for MacReady.
Yeah, for sure. I think that like, especially, it's funny because this was kind of before he really like got back into the mainstream and stuff. Like his star wasn't as bankable because he had done, you know, some stuff here and there, but a lot of people knew him for being like the Disney actor and stuff. I mean, this is before he like really, you know, did all those other movies that were definitely way different than the stuff he did for Disney. So I think that like they were talking about that too, where like when they were doing this film, like the studio suggested Kevin Kline.
Wow, that's
But they never.
I can't even imagine.
But they
that.
never pushed against like Kurt Russell being MacReady. But the only thing I think they thought of was that like they didn't think that like he couldn't do it as an actor. They thought he would be great, you know, because he had already done a lot of great stuff for Disney. But like I think maybe since he hadn't transitioned completely into this role of like leading man for like not Disney stuff, that they were wondering about his star power at the time. But I think they talked about like that was never something that they were like, it's got to be this way, or you know. But what were you gonna say, Matt? Were you thinking about?
Kevin Kline's interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah,
he could have done it, but Kurt Russell's
Kurt Russell.
better.
Yeah, I mean it's just I think like a lot of stuff in these films is like just perfect casting. Like they have a lot of great actors in this, but like Kurt Russell is able to shine as like the, you know,
the grizzled badass.
over
There's also
time,
like brooding.
yeah,
you
over
can't see
time
Kevin
he
Kline
becomes like the main guy, but not to the point where he's literally overshadowing anyone else. And I think it works too that like they didn't get a lot of like super like other people like, you know, that would have kind of tried to do the same thing to try to overshadow his like main person thing.
So this isn't a super interesting question because obviously the characters didn't get too deep, but I am curious as to who everyone's favorite character was.
Oh, Childs. Just
Childs?
because he's a badass.
Nice.
And I love Keith David.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think
He questions like what's going on more than anyone. Like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like,
Well, there's
I
a
love
part
it.
where he like tries to like take the gun, like take control, and they're like, oh wait a minute, you're too
he's
uneven.
a bastard or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I want to almost say the same thing because I love Keith David so much. I mean, for me, it would probably be like a tie between Kurt Russell, Keith David, and like Wilford Brimley.
I think Wilford Brimley was kind of my
Because
favorite
Wilford
character.
Brimley is just he's so shot. Not like I don't know too much about him other than a lot of people know he was, you know, he did commercials for diabetes supplies and stuff and being tested and the Quaker Oatmeals thing. And obviously he was an actor, but like that's what a lot of people, at least in my generation, at least I thought of him as, but like to see him in this, it's like this guy's fucking good. Like he was so good in this film. And
are you forgetting about Hard Target? Come on.
I try to. No, I joke about that film, but I like it.
No, Kurt Russell was great. Keith David was great.
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley was great. I mean, I think everybody else.
Yeah, I think everybody was really.
I like
good in this
what's
film.
his name, the dog handler. He's a very
Clark?
sympathetic character. Because like
He's like my.
Even though they try to make him seem like he's the thing.
He was
at multiple
like-
points.
he cares about the dogs.
freaking Yeah, he was like a dog lover. Freaking what's his face was kind of. I thought he was pretty good too. The guy that was like supposed to be in charge that had the gun, but like essentially
Gary.
Yeah, essentially has to hand it over
Moffat.
because he's like, I'm not up to this shit, guys. Like, you know, and you can see it in the way he eventually starts cracking, and it's like, I think it's just everybody has a scene too where they're able to convey how good of an actor they are and they nail it. So it's like, I'm never like, oh man, these guys, you know, one guy blew it. You know what I mean? I think it's all like,
Dude, that
Great.
dude was the president in Clear and Present Danger.
Oh,
Like
really?
That one famous
yeah.
scene where he's like, "How dare you? I'm the president of the United States." Harrison Ford's like, "How dare you, sir?"
and everyone's like, okay.
From the trailer.
Some of the notes here I have from the, I guess, stuff that they, for the commentary, behind the scenes stuff, is like, they couldn't get any beer when they were filming there, and they were obviously talking about that and kind of complaining, like, it was bullshit and stuff. And I guess we talk about hyderizing.
Some kind of
Have you
booze.
guys ever done that before?
I've never heard of that except for the commentary.
Yeah.
It's like some kind of local booze.
It's like something where they like light it on fire and then drink it and it closes your throat up or whatever.
Oh, sounds amazing.
And I was like, that's yeah, it's like,
It gets you drunk.
yeah. Well, I was just like, yeah, I know that you guys have done stuff here and there, so I wasn't sure.
Like, I know you guys have done some fucked up shit.
I know you guys have really fucked your lives up, but another thing I thought was funny is they were talking about how like the Bush pilots were out of control.
Dude's picture looks like it's from 1920.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Benning,
Is that
Oh yeah,
President
his,
Woodrow Wilson?
like
or what?
IMDb, like
he's like,
headshot.
freaking here we go.
Like, I'm President
Still
Peter
alive.
Maloney,
Dude, holy
53rd President of the
shit.
United States.
That's what's funny
He
too.
looks
is-
like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah. He's like, move over, George C. Scott, you fucker. But like the Bush pilots down there offered to crash helicopters for money for like the
Oh,
movie,
nice.
and I was like, Jesus, like, yeah, the stuff they sprayed on the dogs
That's hardcore.
was like carbopol, which is like the stuff they put in Twinkies. So like that one scene where the dog gets sprayed and it's like, give me the fuck out
Oh
of here.
god, yeah, like when the fucking tendrils come out of the dog and it's like
Yeah,
Like
that's
those-
it. Yeah.
so gross
I
but
don't
so
like that.
good.
Do you remember this in the commentary, Matt, where they were talking about like when Kurt like he had to get bandaged up, or he got bandaged up, and he went to John and he's like, dude, I got burned real bad with the flamethrower, and John Carpenter was like, what the fuck? And like it was like a joke or whatever, but he was like, he's like, I got fucked up with the flamethrower, I can't film today. And he was like, holy shit. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. I would definitely suggest if you're a fan of the film.
I haven't listened to that in a long time, but I remember he said that they would always take, like, right before they yelled action, he would take a huge drag off a cigarette.
Yeah.
It would make it even more steamy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just like great stuff in the commentary. I would definitely suggest if you are into the film to get like at least you probably get the Blu-ray. I think I got a copy of mine for like $7.99 or whatever. But
Yeah, John Carpenter, Kurt Russell commentaries. They did like what 2 or 3, and
yeah,
they're gold.
because they have one for Big Trouble, one for this,
Escape
the
from New
thing,
York.
and one for Escape from New York, and essentially they're all like just cracking up and like
It's just Kurt Russell laughing like a
Kurt
maniac
Russell like
nonstop.
laughing like a maniac when fucking like somebody's being burned to death or like something gross is happening on screen. He's like, ha ha ha! And John Carpenter's like, there it goes. It's
It
like,
reminds me of this is totally off topic, but have you heard the clip of the commentary from
like
Armageddon?
Yes.
yeah.
Where Ben Affleck's
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah. I think we brought that
the
up like
miners
4 or
and,
5
like-
times on the podcast. But
it's just
So hilarious. He's like, wait a minute. So, what's so hard about drilling?
Yeah, it's like it's
point it at
easier
the ground,
to train
Turn it on.
drillers to be astronauts and astronauts to drill.
they're
They
gonna
don't, they don't know nothing about drilling.
yeah, Bruce Willis. Yeah, these guys don't know nothing about drilling. It's like, you just pointed at the fucking.
They might know how to go into space. But they don't know nothing about drilling.
Yeah, it's like,
Point it at the ground.
yeah,
Turn it on.
I was hoping you would bring
That's
that
one of the
up
best
because
ever.
speaking of commentaries, it's like that's so ridiculous. It's like Jesus Christ. And then the last thing I have is just John Carpenter talking about like his love for Pong and asteroids and stuff on the
Well,
commentary.
He's loved video
He's a
games
big
since the
video
beginning.
gamer, and
The very beginning.
when he was asking Wilford Brimley when he was doing the dissection, like, and he's making that face and, like, like what he was thinking of when he was doing the autopsy, and he said, "Oh, picking up my laundry." And I was like, okay. But, yeah. I don't know. You guys have any other things? I think we've talked the fuck out about this.
Yeah,
We've
covered it.
thoroughly dissected this movie.
That's true.
Oh.
Just like Wilford Brimley. To the thing, not the movie. I'm like, he fucking dissected the shit out of this film.
It wants to be us. I want other movies to be like this.
The Thing is a fantastic movie. From personal experience, I don't like horror very much. So even if you don't like horror, I recommend checking it out.
But don't pay for a whole seat, because all you'll need is the end.
Yeah, great movie. Fantastic. Don't watch the prequel. Don't read any comics. Just watch the singular movie and pretend like nothing else exists.
Like nothing else exists in your life.
Nothing at all. Just watch the movie every day, all day.
So I guess we've gotten to that point of the review when we give the movie a score, and I think we should let John give his first 0 to 9.95 review of the film.
I mean, we out of
You're like
10.
0, fuck this film.
9.95 is a top score.
I mean, I would give it a 9 out of 10. There's a couple parts that we mentioned that were like, but like it wasn't nearly enough to derail the movie. I thought it was
Right.
great. Fantastic movie.
So I guess that's like an 8.95.
8.95, sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. Those criticisms were valid, but for me, it doesn't bother me one bit. It's a
You're like
9.95.
0.95.
Love it.
9.95
Yeah.
from Matt. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I talk about this. We've talked about this movie so much, and you know, we've seen it and stuff, and watched a lot of the commentaries. So I mean, I think definitely. I know 9.95 for me. I think that, you know, if the film is able to elicit, you know, this many people to talk about it, and especially if, you know, like John said, he's not a big horror person, to actually like it enough to give it that high of a rating and talk about it and stuff and have a lot to say about it, then you better fucking watch this film.
Yeah.
So
You got something in your nose.
that would be not fun. I would have been like, yeah! Holy shit, it's
I
the
heard
thing!
a thing.
So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. Until next time, we'll see you guys, and I'll let John, you go ahead and say the last thing.
Have a happy Halloween and watch The Thing. You won't regret it.
Fire's got the temperature up all across the Buddy Shotz Research Center. Won't last long, though.
Neither will we.
How will we make it?
Maybe we shouldn't.
If you're worried about me,
If we got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
well, what do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
Do you have any actual rope that we can put?
No.
You got rid of it? Alright.
Started.
Okay. Shit. I mean...
Line.
I'm like, hey guys. I know you gentlemen have been through a lot lately, but I can't remember the rest of the line. I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but you know, I can't remember the rest.
Should I look over or whatever?
Yeah, okay.
It's the kind of thing where once I put it on, it's not coming back up.
It'll come all in pieces.
That's probably good.
For your health. Fuck.
That was good.
God, that fucking hurt. Huh. Guess we're all clean. Nobody's a thing. Except you! I guess none of us are things. The thing. Fuck.
I actually wrote the things. It's not things, they're the things. But whatever you what have you.
I really wanted to use this.
Nice.
Hey guys.
Yo, what the fuck? Fucking blasted!
Let's do that again.
Dude, awesome.
You guys got any Cheez-Its?
What's going on there? You got any Cheez-Its? What the hell? I'm Vince Frost. Oh, let's try that again. I'll be like, what the hell? I'm just a regular guy. Vince Frost. I'm a detective.
That's good.
God, fuck! God, fuck you too!
Do we stand up?
Both of you shut the fuck up! Jesus! Give me all your goddamn money right now.
Alright, feels good to be out of those glory.
Oh my god! It's eating him alive! I'm trying to assimilate him.
Go lay down. Go lay down.
You're next. Smile like a donut.
What did you say? Smile like a dumbass?
It doesn't smile like a donut.
Take off your keys when the flag goes by. It looks pretty good.
Thank you.
Fire's got the temperature.
Fire's got the temperature. Let's try this again.
Nicely done.
What do we do?
Take a swig of whiskey. For real. That was weird and creepy.
What?
My smile.
The way you smile. Now you're fucked.
Alright, here we go.
For all these hours of editing this freaking episode, it's time to upload it. Not as smart as you thought you were, huh, girl? Almost feel bad for you.
cheating bitch.